Been wrestling with this idea of hope. That's what I've been. That's what's been in my spirit, and so I think that's kind of what we're going to talk about. And this idea of keeping hope when the environment of the day, the air of the day seems to be very caustic toward Christians. People today seem to be tolerant of everything but Christianity. God forbid you speak out and declare His Word, try to stand on it because people will hate you. I have found no faster way to have people hate you than to stand on the Word and simply try to present it. You don't have to be judgmental with it. You don't even have to target anybody specifically with it. Just throwing it out there seems to have people angry at you. And in some cases, it goes way beyond anger and seems to produce hate. And this is the atmosphere we live in. This is the reality that we are in right now. This is not a new thing. It's reasonably new for us because here in America we haven't quite experienced it. But across the world, certainly it has been experienced for many years. And even when the church was first founded, persecution was suffered. But I want to go into this idea of hope. What are we hoping for? What are we pursuing after? What is the ultimate end of all of this? What keeps us going through the persecution, through the pain, through all the struggles? What keeps us moving on? And that is hope. I want to lay some foundation first by saying that the first fruits of hope have already been sown. We can go throughout the Old Testament and even the New Testament, but specifically even in Genesis, where God proclaimed that He was going to fix all of this, that He was going to change all of this, that yes, humanity had fallen, mankind had fallen into sin, but God was going to step in and eventually things were going to get better. We go through the promises of Genesis and Isaiah and Ezekiel, and we can see God has made promises. And then we come around to Christ's birth. And the angels began singing and the wise men came. Everybody knew that something had happened when Christ was born. And what that was a fulfillment of a promise. Through Christ's birth and His death and even His resurrection, it was all proof that what God had promised thousands of years before that He was going to fulfill and was in the act of fulfilling it even at that moment. And so Christ's resurrection was proof that God had fulfilled something. But that's not the end of the promises. That's not the end of it. There's more for us. And my goal tonight is for us to not lose hope. And if you have lost hope, maybe to get some of that back. Because here's the thing, here's what we have to understand. God found us, right? You remember my teaching out of Romans 8 just a couple weeks ago? God pursued us. He called us. He was the one that found us. We didn't seek after Him. It wasn't us that made the effort. It wasn't us that pushed into His presence. But He found us. He discovered us right where we were. He was the one that called us. He's the one that pulled us out of the miry clay. We didn't do it ourselves. And so I want us to know tonight that God didn't do all of that just to leave us somewhere. He didn't do all that. He didn't bring us out of the past that we had. He didn't bring us out of the circumstances that we were in just to leave us to fail, but He did it for a purpose. He did it for a reason. What we so often try to do, what I find myself doing all the time, is I get into the mindset of the Hebrew children as they were coming out of Egypt. They had just witnessed God do something amazing, miraculous, brought them out of a land where they were slaves, and miraculously did it, and brought them into the desert, was feeding them every day, manna from heaven, was leading them, guiding them by a pillar of fire. And yet what did the Hebrew children do when things got tough? They said, God, what did you do? Lead us out here just to kill us? And I find myself going into that mindset all the time. When things get tough, when things get hard, I find myself coming into that mindset, right into the mindset of the Hebrew children. God, what have you done? What have you brought me out of? And what is your purpose for me? Are you leaving me here just to kill me? But that was not God's intent then, and it's not God's intent now. He didn't leave us here. So we're going to start reading out of Revelation 21. We're going to just read about 7 verses. We're going to start with verse 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and He will dwell with them, and they shall be His people, and God Himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And He that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And He said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And He said unto me, It is done. Now we had it is finished on the cross. We have it is done here in Revelation 21. It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things. And I will be his God, and he shall be my son. Verse 8, But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and adulterers and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. We have here this awesome picture of God, what He's going to do, the finality of all of this, of all the struggles, all the pursuing Him, all of this ends here. And the holy city is finally brought down, and finally God dwells right among men. We can look what is said here in Revelation 21 mirrors throughout the Old Testament what was said. And I won't have you go, but I'll just quickly read what some of the writers said. Isaiah 35:1 says that deserts will blossom. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to a desert, but there's not much blossoming going on in a desert. It's kind of known for being just a little dry, barren. There's not much life in a desert. Kind of hot during the day, but then during the night it's very cold. But God said when He's done, when He is finished, that the deserts are going to blossom. And so I don't think it would be unreasonable to think that when God finally finishes this thing, that the Sahara might just smell a little bit like a rose. Amos 9:13, the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the mountains shall drop sweet wine. I've seen some big mountains. I like the Great Smoky Mountains. They always, when I see them, I'm always kind of captivated by that. They're quite beautiful. But if you look at it from a worldly sense, all that mountain does is just inspire that sense of awe. It doesn't actually produce anything. It doesn't actually do anything. But God said when He's finished with it, even craggy rocks are going to produce something, and they're going to produce wine. Now I want you to realize that what God is saying here is that when New Jerusalem comes down, when the finality of this comes to its conclusion, that the earth that we live in right now, it will pass away, but I don't think it's just going to be obliterated. But I think God is going to make this very earth brand new. We can go into Isaiah 65, where Isaiah declares that there will be no more weeping. And further on in the chapter, he says, the wolf and the lamb shall lie down together, and they shall even eat together. Now you understand the significance of that, I hope. The wolf and the lamb eat together now, but in a different way. The lamb is involved in the dinner, but in a different way than what Isaiah is speaking about. And so we see here a picture of all of the violence that seems to be interwoven into our life, into our world. All of that violence seems to disappear when God finally finishes this thing that He started. And Isaiah 65 even declares that the mighty lion will eat hay instead of pursuing meat. And we see this, the violence seems to go. We can go into Isaiah 11, where it says that no one will hurt or destroy anything while they're in God's holy mountain. We can go into Habakkuk 2:14, and it says that the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord like the waters cover the sea. I don't know if you've ever been to sea, but kind of water everywhere, right? So knowledge of the Lord will be like the waters that cover the sea. That ought to be an amazing day. That ought to be an amazing day. We can look at 1 Corinthians 15, and it says that our bodies are going to be imperishable, that they're going to be resurrected bodies, that the bodies that we have, they're going to be like Christ, and that what we have right now is going to pale in comparison to what is coming for us. We think that we're strong right now. We can get into shape, and now some of you know that as we get older, our bodies betray us. Our bodies betray us. Those abs, they betray us. They turn into fat. Yes. I never quite had a six-pack, but I was in far better shape. I was running, a mile every day, basically. So I was in quite a bit better shape. Now I don't know if I could run a mile in a week. Probably pass out and, faint before I could get that completed. But everything that we can do now with our bodies is going to pale in comparison to the glory of our bodies when God is finished. So why do I say all this? What is the purpose of all of this? Remember I said that the purpose, my goal was to speak about hope. It is something to look forward to. Do you know that without hope, you can't have faith? Because the Bible says that faith is the substance of things hoped for. We've got to have hope in order to have faith in anything. We cannot lose this hope that we have. That's what I fear has happened to many. I've dealt with it myself. I've struggled. I've fought with it myself. But I've come to the realization that the Bible speaks, the Bible declares His people have to have hope. We have to pursue that hope. That hope is what gives us the ability, the desire to pursue Him. It is what gives us our faith in Him. So we can't turn away from hope. We can't turn our backs on hope. It doesn't matter how bad the situation may seem. It doesn't matter. I don't care what your finances are like. I don't care how your relationships are struggling, how they're falling apart. There is still hope. There is still something to pursue after. There is still something that is waiting for us. There is a finality to this thing. Things will not always stay the same. I don't care how the devil has lied to you. I don't care what the devil has told you. Things will not stay the same. God has a plan for us. He has something for us, something greater than this. There is a hope. There is a reason to hope. We're not delusional. Now, to the outside world, we are delusional. There's no way to sugarcoat that, to wrap that up. To those that are blinded by sin, we are delusional. Think about what we believe in. We believe that God is going to, that a man that was born from a virgin, lived a perfect life, died for no cause, resurrected after 3 days in a tomb, and He is going to come back. There's going to be a city that comes out of heaven, and God is going to choose to dwell among men. To those that are blinded by sin, that is delusional. But it is not delusional for us that know Him. We have already seen the fulfillment of many promises through Jesus. If God made those promises, then these promises are also sure. If He fulfilled those, then He's also going to fulfill these. I think about, and I've said this often behind the pulpit, I think about that verse when David said that as the deer panteth for water, so my soul panteth for you. I think of Paul when he said, oh, that if I could just know Him. And here's what I want to leave you with. These are kind of my last thoughts. There will come a day when we are no longer looking forward to these promises, but we'll actually be living in them. Just as the writer of Hebrews stated that Abraham and listed several, said they were looking for the promise, but they never attained it, and Jesus was that promise. We're also looking for some promises. But there will come a day when we're no longer looking forward to them, where we no longer have to hope for them. We won't have to be like Paul, who said, if I could just know Him, oh, to just know Him. We no longer have to be like David, as my soul pants for you. We look at those verses and we think, well, we can frame those up. They're kind of cute verses. I used to think that all the time, but I read them now, and for those that haven't been in that situation, I understand, because when I hadn't been in that situation, I thought they were cute verses. I thought they were something to throw on a coffee mug or something. But I found myself at one point in my life truly thirsting after Him, truly panting after Him. But there's going to come a day where we no longer have to pant after Him, because He's going to be right there with us. That we're not going to have to pursue after Him anymore, because He's going to be there with us. We're going to see Him face to face. That day is coming. I don't know when it'll come, but I know that if His Word declares it, that it will happen. He's been faithful so far. When He pulled us out of whatever situation we were in, when He came and rescued us, He was faithful to do that. That was exactly what His Word said He would do, that He would pursue after us, and He did. He's kept us. We're here tonight for a reason. I know it's hard to find hope today. It's hard to find hope today. Seems like everything that can go wrong does go wrong. And it seems like the world is literally just set out to destroy us. But I'm telling you, we have to hold on to that hope. We have to hold on to the hope. Don't lose your hope. Don't lose your faith. Because the God that came and got you when you were lost, that came and picked you up when you didn't even have any idea who He was. He pursued after you. He wooed after your heart. He loved you when you were unlovable. That same God that fulfilled the promises then is the same God that is in control and holds our future, that holds the promises that He has declared to us. If we trusted Him then, we can trust Him now. Don't let go. Don't turn away. Keep after Him.